And that was the FIFA forward money. That will go into the 30-bed facility or 30-room facility at Pram Pram. It will go into the new natural grass there. It will go into the erection of a block fence around the land at Pram Pram. It will go into the completion of the Bet Power Park. It will go into the facelift of existing accommodation in Pram Pram. That's all the FIFA forward money will be used for. Where are they getting the money to buy the buses for the clubs?
No, Fentuo, I'm not cutting you. Did you say the Bet Power Park?
It is
When
there.
Bet
I'm
Power said
looking at the
they
GFA
are
slide as
building the
I speak to
facility.
you. I didn't put it there, Muftao. It's there.
But he said Bet Power are building the thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
You understand me? So sources of funding is a crucial area. Because it is, you see, every time they say when there is suspicion of criminal activity, follow the money. Where is the money coming from?
Audio money.
You see, and these are critical issues. Now, the speech from me, the promises that he made yesterday, tell me that he feels confident he will win the election and will continue as GFA president. That's the only thing I picked up from that Congress yesterday. And the applause at the end of everything that he said just showed me that, in fact, the Ghana, and yesterday on my show, we talked about it. It seems to me like some of us are just wasting our time complaining about the issues because it looks like the football people themselves are absolutely elated with what happened yesterday and everything that Kurt is doing. And I'm not saying he's not done anything. Kurt has done some stuff, some of them really good stuff. But I find a lot of the things he didn't mention yesterday quite curious. And you see, and let me begin with this. You see, it is not a Kurt problem. It's not a Kurt only problem that our football is struggling. And that's why every time we have this conversation, that's why some of us, we don't want to stick it to individual. It's a systematic problem. And it begins with the government. You see, yesterday, most of the promises and the things that kept promised yesterday are things that the government of Ghana should be doing. The sports minister was there, but he said absolutely nothing about what the government is doing to help get our football back to its lofty heights. Nothing. He just said we'll continue to provide support. What kind of support? There were no specifics. Nothing. That to me was a complete letdown. Because let's not forget, the government has a huge role to play in this. The ministry themselves started a 1 million balls project 2 years ago. That was supposed to generate 1 million footballs to be distributed to schools across the country. What's the latest on that project? Why should the GFA be the only ones embarking on the journey of distributing footballs at the coast level? What's the government's own support? How are they complementing those efforts? And granted, the GFA has taken the initiative to distribute the footballs. It's the government's job to make the parks available and give these schools instructors. GFA instead are the ones who are running a GFA academy now, and they're going to scout players at GSS 3 level and put them into boarding schools. The schools that belong to the government. What is the government doing on their own to support these efforts? We have to be intentional about football development. You can find accidental success all the time, but you can never find accidental failure. Because there's no such thing as accidental failure. The failure we see today is because we failed to invest. Go into our curriculum round. What's happening to our PE lessons? And even when the children have that little small opportunity, where will they go and play? Kurt was clear in his speech that coaching was one of our biggest problems. And this is where I have issues with him personally as GFA president and the position he occupies. Yesterday, there was no mention of a single initiative meant to solving the problem of coaching, which he identified and repeatedly said was our biggest problem. Except subsidizing coaching fees for ex-players who can already afford, by the way. And this one, you see, and I went through the whole GFA document, and on the issue of coaching, there were 2 points. Something that you said was the biggest problem in Ghana football. He mentioned 2 things only that they were doing to try and fix that problem. and one being subsidizing, giving 50% off for ex-players who want to get into coaching. The other one being, he says, number one, 50% discount for ex-players with a minimum of 30 caps with the Black Stars players. Every single one of these players can pay 3,000 cedis for a beginner's license D coach. Why can't they pay? Ex-player who has played 30 times for the Black Stars. They don't need a 50% discount. That's not what they need. And then the second point is continue with the strategy to offer attachment opportunities to coaches to study in Europe. These are the two things Kent has promised or says he's doing to fix what he claims is the biggest problem in our football. Isn't that underwhelming? Isn't that underwhelming? I'll get back to that. There's a catch them young refereeing problem policy. Why can't there be a catch them young coaching program? Why not? Coaching is no longer reserved for retired ex-players only. Look at some of the world's exciting coaches today. Some of them are in their 20s and 30s and probably never played the game to the highest level. You see, people now have to cough up 3,000 Ghana cedis for entry-level license D program. How many willing souls would be encouraged to take up this program given the fees involved? How many of them can afford? And you're already giving the subsidy to the ones who can afford. That is not very forward-thinking, in my opinion. And for me, this is where the government needs to collaborate with the GFA. Why? Because why can't the government offer scholarship to coaching students to study both here and abroad? Because already we offer scholarship to other Ghanaians in other countries, in other industries. And we do that with the aim of yielding positive outcomes that can go towards developing this country. Why can't we do the same, given the huge economic benefits that come with a thriving football ecosystem? Because I've never seen anybody, because in the past, in the 60s, it happened. That's the only way we actually achieved the things that we achieved in the 60s, winning the Cup of Nations in 63, 65. Cheques and Co. went to Brazil to study coaching under scholarship from the government of Ghana. How many coaches has the government of Ghana sponsored to study in the last 10, 15, or 20 years? How many? Every single coach has become a coach through their own individual effort. And that's okay. But even if you go to Germany, the coaches that they have today, it didn't happen by accident. It was a clear policy of recruiting coaches early and sending them coaching schools. It's a systematic problem. We leave this thing to only the GFA. It doesn't work like that. And Sicho has made this other point in the past about the fact that the government of Ghana needs to take the same interest in the sports as it has in economy or in agric or in education. And I agree 100%. So coaching aside, the Ghana Premier League is coming off arguably its worst season in terms of spectatorship. It was rather disappointing to see that Ken Okreku's speech did not remotely hint on how the FA intends to address the problem. Neither was anything said on the aptly named document they call Fixing the Fundamentals, which was also published. Nothing was said about how they intended to connect with the fans and get spectators back to the stadium. And for me, I feel like the GFA administration must not only care about pleasing its members, they must also care about pleasing the football fans, without whom there's no football. And yesterday, every single thing that he said at that press con or that congress, it seemed to me like there were things that were formulated and and strategized to coax delegates and people with votes into retaining him in office. Things that the people in that Congress room wanted to hear, things that the delegates would be very happy with. That was all, that was 99% of everything that happened there was targeted at the people with votes. You and I who do football, there was nothing there that showed to me that there was an effort towards fixing a fundamental systematic problem. Even support for our national teams receded in the past year. Not helped by a terrible performance in the last 60 months. And there is a need for the GFA to try and reinvent our national team. Yesterday, and throughout fixing that fundamental document, go and study it. Absolutely nothing was said about how we could get our national teams back to performing at the highest level. Are you serious? After the months that we've had with our national teams, not one thing was said yesterday about how he intends to get our national teams back to being competitive. And while he was speaking, the Black Stars were getting thumped by Burkina Faso. Nothing was said about that. So if I'm a journalist and I'm going through that statement and I'm critically analyzing it and I'm looking at the most fundamental areas in our football that need fixing, like coaching, like the Premier League, like the national teams, and all I see is promising passes that we don't know where you will get the money from to buy, and telling them you give them 50,000 Ghana cedis to establish youth teams, and all these other things. I have a right to call out where I see the loopholes and tell you why I
Spence, we're wrapping
feel
up for us.
this might not work, and that we are probably sidelining the most fundamental and the critical issues. And when journalists speak out, then people turn around and try to say that the only way we are speaking is because we belong to certain camp. Listen, I only got the opportunity to cover my last World Cup in Qatar 2022. Godfred is on the space. He covered 2 World Cups in 2010 and 2014. None of which would have happened if Ghana wasn't at the World Cup.
Friends, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, be wrapping up for us, please. We'll get back to you.
Done. I'm done. You see, all I just want to say is, you know, I think,
Raman, it is also the passion. Let him be passionate. This is the passion.
you know,
he's in the mood, right? He's in the mood.
See, and for me,
he's in the spirit.
You see, let's get back to. I feel.
Don't be emotional. Don't be emotional.
No, I'm not. You see, I'm not. Look at all the
Felix,
people
he's in the spirit.
The things that
if you have a written speech, go according to the speech. Don't speak through from your emotions.
The things that
go according to your written
speech.
That's
the thing. The things that football has given us, we have a massive interest in it. So when we see it going down the drains, we speak up, and that's the only thing that drives us. As journalists, the opportunities that the World Cup or your team going to the AFCON offers you, uncountable. Ask every single journalist here. So we have an interest in the success of our football. Nobody wants to drag anybody down. And it doesn't matter who is in charge of our football, running as FA president or ESCO member. The bottom line is the success of our football would inure to the benefits of the journalists too. So our interest is as personal, is as professional, and we should be very passionate about the part our football has taken. The last thing I will say, the last U23 AFCON, you see, and some of these things are things that some of us are privy to, that sometimes you feel like when we go for competitions, every single time, there's always chaos. You will not believe some of the things we let happen at the U23. And the minister's speech where he was calling out the players at Congress and saying they're selfish. That is because, you see, I saw a lot of people saying right message, wrong target audience, or wrong platform. And you'll be absolutely right. You know why? And the only reason he made that speech was because the U23 team nearly boycotted training before their last game. Because when they played against Algeria, you promised them bonuses. Nobody put a gun to your head to go and promise them bonuses. You did. That if they qualify to the tournament, you pay each player $3,000. They qualify to the tournament, you didn't pay the money. They go to the AFCON, they win their first game. You come, you say, oh, you pay the money. You didn't pay the money. Before Morocco, there were only 1 day between games. one free day, 24 hours, or is it 48 hours to the next game? So they only had one full free day. They spent that whole day before the Morocco game holding meetings with management committee members over bonuses. They went into the Morocco game, and it took the sports minister to come and show them WhatsApp messages of the Cheques telling them that the bonuses were ready. Now, because the bonuses are ready in Accra, and he showed them pictures of Cheques. My brother, they have been back home for more than 1 week. The Cheques that the minister said were ready that he showed them on the phone. They can't see the Cheques. Why do we do these things? So he went to sign some dummy checks, some fake checks, let them take a picture to go and show it to the players. Why do we do these things? Why? You get my frustration. And these are the things. So that's why I say the government is a massive contributor to where we are today. Management committee member, EXCO member, I am privy to a fight that happened in camp between an EXCO member who should be representing the interests of the Ghana Football Association and the interests of Ghana football, who is fighting other management members over his players. So vested interest, individual interest. That's it. My player must start.
Fentuo, should I answer more or it's okay?
Yes, add more. Can you believe that the chairman of the management committee, while the team was capping Egypt, left them and went to do match commissioner? Leader of delegation, you abandon the national team, go and do match commissioner in another country. Why do we not? Why is the football afterthought for some people? Why is our national team afterthought for some people? And it's all about what you can get individually. Why would you